We're gonna switch it up today, guys. Instead of positive focus, I got a quick video. We haven't done that in probably pre-COVID. So I grabbed that over the weekend and we will play. I'll give a few minutes of stragglers. I don't know why, but we'll do that.
Yeah, nobody's in the waiting room.
Okay. I'll give it 30 seconds because we're not doing positive focus. It'll be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Which is great. It gives us some working time today. Switch it up. Guys are a rowdy bunch. Man, oh man. I hope you turn it up for QLS.
Oh yeah.
And if not,
Steve, everyone knows you turn.
Everyone already knows that.
If not, Steve's gonna sing AC/DC to you when you get there.
I'll be ready. I'm that guy like in the MLB that gets called out of the bullpen and does a dead sprint to the mound.
We were at a wedding a few weeks ago and they played that AC/DC song, and all I could think was, I gotta get back in the room.
Well, we had an event meeting yesterday, and someone said, well, Caleb didn't like that. I said, we're not getting rid of it until I'm not at that event.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get rid of it. Oh, Jesus, Adam, I owe you a call.
Hey, guys.
And I will call you later.
Sounds good. We'll stay busy.
Okay. All right. I say we get rolling. There's a couple people. That everybody's in?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mr. Mike.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Mike.
All right.
What's happening?
What's happening?
Morris, do we wait? Well, I'll wait for you.
Oh,
Whoop,
I've got a
Dr.
meeting to go in and out of. So
That is the freaky screen, John.
That is.
Evan, this is my second computer. I'm probably not going to have video today, so sorry.
Might come back on.
My work laptop doesn't disable the camera, so can't use that. So this one doesn't work either.
All
so
good.
sorry.
Try it later if you want. So, guys, I'm going to play a quick video. It's like 4.5 minutes before, instead of positive focus, what I suggest is you just jot down anything that comes to mind, an action item, an aha, a reminder, anything. It hopefully will not be new to you. That's number one. Number two, I got a couple things, not many, a couple things I want to make sure we hit. I think Brian has a few as well, and Steve may. We're gonna talk lead gen again because I don't think everybody's in the mastermind, number one, and number two, last Thursday that is, and number two, it's worth revisiting for sure, because even some of the coaches I was talking last week, we got to make sure we fine tune a little bit more. Got some script things to come up, and then if Josh comes, is Josh here? I don't see him.
I don't see him.
Okay. Even if he doesn't come, we're going to address we're on a group thread, me and Brian and him. I don't know if Steve's on that, but he should be added. Brian, you can add him. It was about scripting with an owner financing deal. We're gonna bring that. We coached him basically on the thread, on the text thread, but I'd like to bring it up here, and I know Brian will be excited to do so. So let's do this. Let's play this video first. You guys can mute for a second. Hopefully we'll have good sound. We tested it 8 million times.
We're trying so hard in our lives to fit in. We try to fit into certain groups, certain friends, certain sororities, among certain friends. Yet the people we idolize are the ones that stand out. But when you're prepared, there is no fear. There is no fear of failure. Okay? Because even if you walk out of something and you feel like you failed at it, your preparation is so strong that you're going to take that failure and turn it into the outcome you desire. And most people stop at failure. We've all failed at things. It's the most powerful tool you can use, but it all depends on how you use it. It's that drive inside of you, okay? It's what we talk about, the dark side. The dark side is filled with failure, but it's the fuel that burns you like something that's never burned inside you before. Gave everything that I had. I poured my heart, my blood, my sweat, my tears. There's so many individuals out there that are so talented in different things and never accomplish anything. Like the world is filled with talented people. You know a lot of them yourselves, right? And they never accomplish anything. With talent has to come preparation, has to come action, has to come development of being able to take those talents, take those skills, continue to develop them, continue to sharpen them physically, continue to sharpen them mentally, because at some point, your physical talent is going to diminish. You go like this, but then you hit this plateau. And most people in that plateau, they go, wrong job, wrong relationship, wrong business, because it's not instantly fulfilling them. But the people that go, I'm going to fight through and go deep. I'm going to find a way to break through. I'm going to find a way to learn and know more about this leading the life so that I can help as many human beings as possible. And I won't be bullshit. It's because I've lived it. There's a power in mastery. And how many people do you know are really committed to mastery today? Most people dabble in a million things, they master nothing, and then wonder why they're unfulfilled. Because they're running for the sugar, the next thing that feels good, instead of getting past what doesn't feel good and getting to where you own something. We live in a Facebook world where people fake their life, put in filters, make it look different than it really is, tell stories that, are totally full of it to make themselves look good. Because we live in this kind of false world where significance is more important than love.
I think when you find your lowest point in your life, I think you're kind of open to a lot of things to try to change it and to try to get back on the right path.
Folks, now 3 for 3 here in Beijing. It's second world record that we started off with the 400 IM was one. One for the check mark.
And I had to invest everything. And Ash was borrowing money from friends to pay the rent. The was with him. With him.
All right.
Hmm.
Thoughts? How did that resonate? What came up? What surfaced?
Most people don't practice mastery. I wrote down.
There's no fear of failure when you're prepared because you turn the failure into the outcome that you're desiring.
Hmm.
I saw it gets harder before it gets easier.
It's actually a good sign, right, Adam?
Yes, indeed.
Watch for it. Or even if we have a single standalone day that does that, we know tomorrow's better. What else, guys?
A lot of talented people that never accomplish anything.
Hmm.
I think preparation, action, and development.
There's lessons learned even from the failures. Always lessons learned.
Well, more so, right?
Right.
100%.
Versus to say how many people watch that video.
I can tell you. And I'm sure you're going to have a point on that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
There's over 400 comments. People took the time to comment on it. 24,000 people gave it a thumbs up. There's a 1.5 million subscribers.
1% of people will take that into action.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fact. They'll take the download like we are, but they won't do anything. I was listening to a podcast on the way back home from one of our properties, and they were interviewing Tom Brady's coach, and he goes, Tom Brady, Desmond Howard, a couple of the high level athletes. And he said that human beings are the only species on this planet that can make a conscious decision to transform their lives. And it all starts with them. Like a dog's a dog, a cat's a cat. It's like we're the only people, we're the only species that can actually transform consciously. And the thing you said about Brady, I'll drive this home, which is really cool, was that, and he referenced the 28-3 Super Bowl they were losing. It's like every measurable stat with Tom Brady in terms of athleticism, he could be beat, but nobody can beat him between the ears. Nobody. And that's why he was the best, because he was mentally the strongest. Again, he's not faster than anybody, doesn't have the best arm, but between the ears, he was the best. That's why he's won how many ever flipping Super Bowls? 8 of them.
So here's a thought on that, Brian. I love it. When I was watching this the other day, I was on the elliptical, and then the same day I watched Dr. Oh man, is it DeMartinez? Why am I drawing a blank?
Robert DeMartini, is that who it is?
No, sorry, hold on. I'll get it. I'll find it. My point was this. I'll find the doctor. It doesn't matter. The point was watching that stuff regularly, or if you listen, it's cool. But for me, if I'm on the stationary bike, I'm reading, and if I'm on the elliptical, I'm watching, right? Because it's kind of hard to read when you're on the elliptical. So it's just,
How was that?
talk about this. What was that?
How was that again?
I'll do it later. So I was at QLS Live. I'm going to hit it again. But my point was, I think of you guys all the time. This call was coming up, so I was thinking about it anyway. And I'm always looking for stuff, right? That's applicable. But the what that did for my day totally changed my day. It wasn't just that one. It was the longer one that I'm going to think about by the time we're done here. It's like 22 minutes long, and it's meant for you to watch it every day. Amazing. It talks about how our thoughts actually change our immune system and our body and our cells like in seconds. Crazy effective. Just by watching that video just there, that changed some moves.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. It's crazy effective. So it's just a reminder. We all know it. We don't do it enough, me included. So I'm just a reminder. What else came up, you guys?
Most people quit after the first time they hit a roadblock.
Yep.
Sadly, especially in real estate, if you want my opinion, because there's so much marketing going on that tomorrow this is easier. This is a shiny object, and people run for it, and they stay on this proverbial treadmill. Yeah. What else?
Tony Robbins is saying everybody seems like they're looking for the sugar. They're not ready to push through the grit. You know, it's true.
Yeah, I liked his better than shiny object, sugar. I'll use that on a podcast, I think, going forward. That's awesome. What else? Couple more. We didn't do positive focus, so this should give you some ideas.
Well, excellence takes work. That's it. Daily effort. And, you know, you talk about athletes like Brady, they put in the homework. They worked every day toward their craft, and that made them the best. And it's a competitive mindset too. So typically when you look at people who are at the best at their level, they're only competing against themselves because they have that mindset.
The unseen work, right, you guys? The unseen work. Brian's message, Josh, we're going to talk about your script later, but Brian's message I loved to Josh today. He said, listen to that script. What'd you say, 50 times minimum? Right away.
50 times and say it out loud 50 times.
Just a little script we had coaching Josh on a three-way text. And that was Brian's response. But it's the unseen work, because if Josh goes and does that, will you get better? Yes. Will anyone see him do that? Nope. Maybe his family think he's nuts, but other than that, nobody will know he's doing it, right? It's the unseen work.
Pete, to take off on what you said, Tom Brady was the first one to show up each day and the last one to leave. So.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant too. He wouldn't leave until everybody else was gone.
So, okay, so let's do a gut check then right here, right? I wrote down what a lot of you said, preparation. I drew an arrow, action, drew an arrow, mastery. Rick said it, a bunch of guys said it. But then I wrote down 3 things. I wrote gut check. How many of us, and if you're not, let's start. How many of us are doing what Brian told Josh to do about an hour ago? And that is, how many of us are practicing daily? So I get 2 nods and a hand raise. Awesome.
Yep.
So generally speaking, if you're not, maybe tomorrow will be a good time to start, right? Practicing. So that was number one. I wrote gut check, practicing, gut check, critiques. As busy as Brian and I and Steve are with critiques, you guys aren't flooding us. You're not. I don't know why you're not sending them, but you're not. So if you're doing the calls and you send the critiques in, will you get better? Yes, fact. You guys are getting sick of the story, but every time Kim says to me, who's doing good, why are they doing well? She asks me this all the time. Who's doing well? How are the coaches doing? Why are they doing well? I always go back to critiques. I say the ones that send those in right away have the shortest learning curve, period, end of story. I've been telling her that for years. That's number two. And the third one was, I was on yesterday morning, I think I told Brian this, on Dr. Mander's Inner Power again. Yesterday was a cool lesson as usual. I can't tell you I love all 5 a week, but yesterday was cool. And as was the journal exercise. And I texted Dr. Amanda, actually on the Voxer, because that's how we communicate when you're in a program. And I said, hey, I mentioned you on the mastermind last week. You should have had all the people sign up. She said, yeah, I had like 3. I was blown away, to be honest with you. And that wasn't just this group, right? It was the mastermind last Thursday night. But I seriously wanted to apologize to her, like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get flooded, because we should all be on that. Who's in the Inner Power Daily? Rick, Jose, Rick, and Kyle. Because I haven't picked on you guys. Give these guys why they should do it, because I've been screaming about it for 2 weeks. Until I delete it off my phone, I'm going to keep talking about it.
Well, there's daily affirmations, prompts. That's one of the big things.
Yeah, because some of us don't know how to, we get caught up with how we journal or how we meditate. So every day she tells you what to do for a quick meditation. It's like 3 breaths. It's simple. And then she gives you the affirmations as well in the journal.
And you get an email notification. You get an email notification every single day.
So just food for thought. I only wrote down those 3. If I asked the coach, they'd probably come up with 10 more. Kyle, what are your thoughts about Inner Power?
Yeah, I know for me, it is the mindset change, and that consistent daily of changing that mindset. And then 2, with changing that mindset and starting her off every day, which she calls high vibe, kind of gets your energy right for the day and kind of gets me going and successful. So my goal is over time, over months, years, whatever, my mindset is just different, how I think different, how my energy is different, it's just different. So.
Mm-hmm. You get a lot of that at the event. Those of you who choose to get around it at the event, right? Be present. You'll get a lot of that. I'll tell you guys one more comment on that. And then I got another comment about habits. And that is, when Dr. Manna gives the assignments, we all get them. If you're in Inner Power, I send them to her. I do them usually the day. If I'm late, it'd be the next day, but I send them to her. It's just for my own accountability. And I ask for her comments. And guess what she does? She comments. Takes her 2 minutes, but it's super helpful. It's an added level of accountability and coaching for me. It's like those of you that send the daily text in. If there's a question there, like Josh today sent us that, there's usually some coaching there. Imagine getting that 3 or 4 days a week extra on this group, and then getting it 3 or 4 days extra in Inner Power. It's pretty cool. So just food for thought. This is all the unseen stuff, right? That you don't see that's going on. All right. The other thing, and I'll be quiet. Let you guys comment. Brian, I building up some more, I'm sure. She talked about, I think it was yesterday, guys. Those of you on Amanda's thing, she talked about the 2-minute rule. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I said to Brian, well, first of all, what's the 2-minute rule? Someone else can explain it. And Dr. Amanda's thing. Who remembers?
I can go. Basically, the 2-minute rule is do something within that first 2 minutes that's going to create that habit. So if your goal is to work out within that 2-minute rule, put on your shoes, go walk outside, start to walk before you start to run, right? It's just to get you moving so you're not procrastinating.
Yeah, like I got to read. I haven't read it. I got to read. I'm going to read a half hour every night. How about 2 minutes? Yeah. So you get the habit going. It's really effective. So the 2-minute rule might be another thing. I'm just throwing things out that you might want to look at adjusting after this call. And if nothing else, I think you got like 3 or 4 nuggets already on this stuff. It's super powerful. Who else? Any comments on that content or questions?
I had a comment. There's a shifted, I guess, on this a little bit because Chris, you were talking about preparation, action, and mastery. I had a very, very difficult, honest conversation with a student today on their weekly. I've had them only for about a month and a half now, and they still haven't made a dial. and they're stuck in this preparation mode, right? And they're telling themselves, because of the fear of the phone, that I need to see QLS more. I gotta book more calls with my team to talk about what we're struggling with. And the realistic side is if you're not taking action, you have nothing to talk about. And that's what they're frozen in right now. And the example that I gave them is that I said, listen, I played baseball from when I was 24, about 4 years old to about 24, about 20 years. And in the very beginning, from let's say 4 to 10, it's like so heavily focused on fundamentals, understanding the game, and just like understanding the ins and outs before you get to like the strategy version of baseball. I said, what do you think the difference would be if I spent 4 to 10 years old studying about baseball but never played, in comparison to the version of Steve that played 4 to 10 years old? Which one do you think is going to be, more equipped for the next stage of whatever that's going to be? You have to take action, right? You can learn as much as you want about anything. If you're not doing anything, you have no lifetime experience and you have nothing to go by. So that's what I've noticed is with especially with newer students, do not get stuck in the preparation phase. You have to jump into things, get lifetime experience, and just, as Chris says, muck things up, because with mistakes comes learning lessons. If you don't make any mistakes, you're probably not learning anything, and you have to be able to fail forward. So just don't get stuck in that preparation stage. Action's the most important thing in the world.
Well, the good thing with scripts, Steve, to your whole point there is, I say this all the time when I critique you guys' calls. When I get to the end, even if it wasn't great, when I say, no harm, call them back. Until they sell, die, or tell you get lost, call them back. It's no big deal. That's the good thing about real estate. Any other comments, Brian, before I move on? Because I think we can hit some, after this mindset section, we can hit some lead gen and some scripts.
Yeah, just on the preparation, and I don't want anyone to take this personally, because I lived this way for most of my life. Okay. What Steve just mentioned with the student who's lack of not doing a dial, like, we tell ourselves stories around that, right? Which is, it won't work. What if I fail? I don't have enough money. And then we can drill that down further and dissect and be like, it's a lack of belief. And when I really go back to when I wasn't doing anything, I was flat out lazy. I was lazy. I wanted the easy way out. I didn't want to put the work in. I knew what was required. I knew it. My father, my whole life, told me, your talent, your skills only going to get you so far. Eventually, someone's going to outwork you and you're going to get your doors blown in. And that's exactly what happened. So I will really look at most, which is why in my rant, I said most people are not willing to do what's required. They're not. And if you can simply just get to that level, you're going to beat everybody else by a mile, because most people are not willing. They're going to let their talent and their skill and their ability take them to the cusp. And then as soon as it becomes difficult, that's when you're going to leapfrog them. That's why Brady's the best. I mean, there's so many examples of people like that. So I just look at it as gut check, is like, forget about lack of belief, and like, are you prepared to do what's required to get to where you want to go? Are you not lazy? Because I was for the majority of my life. That's why I went nowhere. As soon as I got over that, I started having success.
Brian or anyone, don't you think that can be phases too? In our life, we can get comfy.
Totally.
It's not like, it's not like you nip it once. I'm saying that because I've been through it. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
Dozens, where I go, what the hell am I doing? I got to reset.
And we always joke that complacency is where dreams go to die.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just so important that you, like we're talking about, just being uncomfortable. And then what Brian said, are you prepared to do what it takes to, and be honest with yourself about that? That'll save you a lot of heartache if you, ultimately your why is not there, or whatever the case may be, but you've got to find a way to stay motivated. Chris, you were mentioning on your treadmill and on the elliptical, kind of priming yourself, with inspiring things, whether you're reading or you're watching it. And that's one of the things, I know some of the stuff Dr. Amanda talks about, and we talked about those practices, but that's just a really easy one. If you're already doing something else, to listen to something inspiring like what we just watched, where it's like, okay, I'm in the right place. Yes, I feel like I'm struggling right now, but that's good because I'm growing. So it helps give you that little bit of inspiration and motivation to keep pushing forward. So
yeah, no, thanks. And you might want to use that, what Kelly just said and what we started with. By the way, those who, about 4 of you came on late. I knew of a couple of them, so it's all good, but I'd go back to the beginning of this, the first 20 minutes. Because instead of positive focus, we did a video and then we discussed it and we're wrapping that up. So you might want to go. No, you should go back and watch that video. Enjoy, take notes, and see what your thoughts are. Thank you for that, Kelly. Let's I say we pivot. You guys are good with that? We'll pivot. Steve and Brian, we'll pivot to review. I thought we'd review the lead gen thing that we quickly did on the mastermind call. We just went boom, 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 boom. We should be doing this to keep the variety going. But let's revisit it. The first one was and by the way, this was sparked by Rick always looking for more ways for lead gen. And on the chairman's call, he said, you always have something you want to talk about. And he said, yeah, I want to talk about lead gen again. Like he just constantly is trying to dig and uncover leads, right? It's a good thing. And when Nick and I were humping along at, 33 leads a week, we needed all these sources. So we wanted to share them with you guys, make sure everybody had their fingers on these if you're looking for more leads. If you have enough in My Plus, great. This is if you're looking for more. Brian, the first one was your referral idea, worth revisiting, worth seeing if there's any questions about it, because everyone here can do that starting tomorrow morning or tonight.
Sure. This may be somewhat repetitive because I brought up on all the high six calls, but I just want everyone
well, let's ask how many you're doing it then, right? So I think we revisit it.
Okay. Yeah. Probably none. If expired data went away tomorrow, what would you do? That's what I want you guys to think about. If you no longer had access to expireds, what would you do? You'd find other lead sources. So the example I gave was the locksmith. I was going to see the locksmith and I just started thinking like, how many people like me does he meet? And it turned out to be a lot. So I sparked up a conversation with him and just simply said to him, like, hey, if you ever run into this scenario, would you be willing to pass leads to me if I paid you? Like, I want to talk to people like me who are tired of this, who don't have the mental stamina to deal with this. Like, this is the easy part, changing the locks. I got a bunch of crap I got to do, moving forward here. And then I just thought, okay, then it was the junk guys. How many houses do they see like mine? The HVAC guy. Like, how many people who have been in your house? And if you don't have properties, you don't need to have houses to do this. You have somewhere you live. People come to your house to fix stuff. Well, they go to other people's houses too. And then Rick had mentioned estate sale people. So you just got to get creative with your lead gen. Again, if it was all taken away from you tomorrow, what would you do? You'd think about other ways to get leads.
And that's the other reason for variety, guys. So have the thing kept on, but have the variety. So when not only if one disappears, because it can. I remember running another business, right during the crash. And one of the methods we've used was YouTube, and it dried right up because they changed the rules like that. Facebook has done it to us here. Nick will remember that. That was 18. Changed the rules overnight. Boom. Had a pivot. So you want variety coming in. Any questions for Brian on that first? Some of you guys may have missed that last week. Anything at all? Any comments, questions? If not, I'll give you another couple more, or we will. Good? Okay. How many of you guys, just raise your hand if you have, how many of you put into place the field agent program that's explained in Seller Specialist program or some version of it? Anyone?
Look at Nick.
The big smile. All right. So we did it because, again, we wanted more leads.
That's why I raised my hand. We've done it.
I get it. So I would suggest if you guys didn't do the Seller Specialist program and go through the field agent program, I don't know why, unless again you're all set on leads. You've got enough that you can handle. I'd invite you to look at the variety when you have some bandwidth to do that. The field agent program is pretty simple. There may be some new technology that'll speed it up, but the field agent program works around you running Craigslist posts, and you can probably do it in other areas too. Again, there's different ways of doing this, and find people that are willing to take a picture of a for sale by owner sign with the house and the address and send it to, and they get paid by PayPal by you. No long-term contract. No, you stop them or they stop you whenever they want. And we had a couple people that end up just literally would do it all the time. Other people would peter out, but they're out and about. very similar to Brian's, only specific FISBOs. If you get to know them well and they're sending you leads and they're out driving, you know they drive for some other reason, I would definitely talk to them about other types of properties you want. But
we found just for everyone that thinks, oh, I can just get FISBOs online. We found that the leads that the field agent was sending us, a lot of them weren't online. So a lot of them weren't getting hammered by all these calls from other investors, realtors, and they were more receptive to hearing about the ways that we buy. So
yeah, you know what? A whole batch of them was, you guys. If you can picture, there's other categories too, but it was some of them with the more elderly people. They go to do an ad in the paper, either doesn't work or it's too expensive, and everything's online, so they throw a sign in the ad before they go agent.
Also, older people stay in houses longer than the new age, which means there's a higher chance that you're going to have free and clear homes as well.
Yep. Again, variety for what Nick said and what Steve said. Variety. Any questions on field agent?
I was gonna say you can do that for rent too, right? If the house is for rent, same thing.
If they found it, yes.
If it's for rent,
I do it around here. Guys, this might sound odd to you too, but Kim and Nick both know I've been doing this for years. If I go buy a house, not just if it's run down, I'm always looking for that house. I mailed a letter to one recently where I'm buying a new house right here in the area. We're moving next week. And the thing went on the market like 2 weeks later. So I was a little late, but I sent it because it was all overgrown. And then Sue grabbed the number for me. They showed up as like a 90-year-old gentleman, didn't answer, wrong number, so I ended up mailing and the thing came on the market. So I was late, but I bet you I could have got that if I was a little earlier. I just started combing this new neighborhood because I'm moving there. The other thing I look for is anything to do with, Steve said elderly, like, if there's a ramp up or there's something going on in that neighborhood or house where I think down the road they may need help, then I'm mailing them a note. Anything. My radar's always on. We sold the office building. Some of you guys know that. 3 doors down, there's an old house. Kim's like, you should call that one. Let's drive over there. So I already found them. They're like in the 90s. I'm always looking for what is the reason I should call that property. You guys are driving around all the time. You're just not maybe as aware. Here's a suggestion. Well, how many with COVID? It's different now. How many are driving somewhere during the week on a somewhat routine? Anyone? A few. Okay. So suggestion, go a different way. Morris, you go to the synagogue the same way every day?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Okay. So change direction going in, change direction going home. If you add 5 minutes, who cares? You'll get mentally to help you because you're changing scenery, right? But also you'll be aware of properties. And you go home, you mail 2 notes out. Hey, I was in your neighborhood looking for a property for my family member or me. Easy leads. Nobody's after them.
Overgrown, unkept properties. Those are pretty big signs too.
Overgrown,
how much I'm sorry. How much do you pay, or what are you paying for somebody to send you a picture of a for sale by owner? Just give me an idea.
Field agent program was $10, Nick. Maybe up to 20 with some people, but
I thought it was more like 50, but
maybe Brian said 50 on his, so maybe it was. You can also
actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I think that was a little bit ago. I think that it was 20 or 25. Now we tend to go more towards 50, but yeah.
You could tier it, Morris and everyone, meaning this many leads, and hey, I'll review it with you in 60 days. If they're serious, they'll be there in 60 days. If not, they flush out by then.
In the seller specialist program, it says we'll pay $10 for each photo, and bonus receive $250 if we buy the house.
There you go. So mix a little both. I knew there's a bonus in there. All right, so there's an idea, but you guys can do whatever you want. Okay, so that's another idea. And I know those are hand-picked mailings you might do, but they're also the other piece that we always used to do is we would keep some flow of mailings going out. And it wouldn't be heavy because I was never a big advocate. A and B, we didn't have the budget when we first started. So Mike McCready's, I think, is on, right? Mike, did you start your drip? You were going to drip some out. You start those yet?
No drips yet, no, but I'm going to.
So what I told Mike was what Nick and I used to do, especially when we were on tighter budget, was literally just him and I before we started growing it. We would pick the list. I've told some of you guys 2,000-3,000 names. We would just drip out like 100, 200 a week for postage reasons and for handling the phone calls. And then when those were all done, we'd usually have a deal in there and start another list. Again, variety. Even if you call them.
A question on the postages. Are you just selling like if you do a drive-by, looks overgrown, do you send them like a seller doc letter, or do you have a different type of form letter that you're selling, or?
No, on those individuals, Kyle, I send them a hand note. Literally, I write them a note.
Okay.
And I
And
have
then just
Sue
drop
pull
it
their
off at
phone
that
number.
address, obviously.
I mail it because
Okay.
usually if it's overgrown, they're not there. Like that house I found that came on the market, it's a great rehab type house, but there was no one there clearly. It was all overgrown.
Okay. So get it, skip trace it, and then they mail the letter to the correct address.
I call and mail. Yep. Like this one down the street, I'll call. I won't mail it right here. Like literally I can walk 2 doors down, but I want to see if they answer first because it shows them being quite elderly. Yep. Hand notes.
Chris, I think that I'm sorry. I think probably it's fair to say that everyone in this room has had that awareness or thought. I saw for rent sign, I saw for sale sign. The issue is there's no system in place, right? To execute what you're talking about. Like we just drive by, it's an afterthought. Well, I probably should have turned around or whatever. But if you're programmed to think, I remember when I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car and I was selling fleet leasing to like HVAC companies, I used to have a little recorder in my pocket. I would just flip it out. It was like call ABC air conditioning, right? Because I'd see the trucks or whatever. So if you could somehow turn your cell phone into your marketing device, just hit the voice memo. Hey Siri, call, mail a letter 123 Main Street. Like just make a quick recording on it while you're driving by or in the area. And if you have to circle around once, and then at least you have the system to check your stuff at the end of the day and mail it out. Because I just think that's where the disconnect is, Chris, is like you see it, but then there's no system in place. But if you had a system, you'd be much more likely to mail the damn letter.
Yep. And all I do is what you said, by the way. I had 4 voice recordings from my drive around with Kim Seti. All we were doing is going to our house. I wasn't driving to look for properties.
Yeah.
We just drove a different way and did a voice recorder.
Yep.
By the way, guys, some of the best deals that I've done, I'm talking all the way back now, way before the crash, have been properties I found like that because no one else is calling them.
Nobody.
I'm talking multiple lots, multiple new construction, creative financing. I've done almost everything by either knocking on the door or sending them a letter. And Kyle, you can knock on the door.
And what would be
knock on the door with your fire truck? They'll open
it.
it. Then you can ask them what's going on.
It's like if you skip trace that seller, like what would be a better lead? Hey, I drove by your house the other day.
Yeah, easy call.
You don't have to deal with realtors and expireds and all that stuff. How'd you get my number? I drove by your damn house.
Yeah, I love it. You can say just like that. John, Dr. Hoop.
Yeah, didn't we talk? I think we talked about this at the summit, and possibly using REI Black Book to, if the leads were already in there, to mail out those form letters for us. Was there any more discussions on that, or?
Rick, Rick, you don't need to do a long update, but can you give these guys an update on anything? You're gathering the coaches right now and working on REI Black Book systems and you're going to do it at the event. I just give them a rough idea.
Yeah, we're putting together the workflows according to the 7 steps to a take-in and the buyers as far as tasking you when to do what. But we're putting all those workflows together, and REI Black Book is going to push them out to everybody who has REI Black Book so it's consistent. And they're also going to be developing some training that's specific to us, like importing from PropStream and MyPlus leads and putting together the lead sheet, generating lead sheet, that kind of stuff. So, and same goes with building a website for sellers, is doing it. Most of them say we'll buy cash, but since we don't do that, they're going to tailor one for us.
So lots of stuff in the works, John. There's a little bit towards your question, a little bit additional. The reason I come back if I find a one-off and call and handwrite is that likely they're going to answer me.
Right.
Yeah, if I have a bunch, sure.
Yeah, John, to answer your question, it's called Profit Drive. It's an addition to the $197 a month. So that you can generate these letters and have them sent out. You just trigger it. But it's called Profit.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't look into that, but yeah, I'll check it out.
And REI is gonna be at the event, you guys, again. So good for you to know. Rick, just so everybody knows, because nobody else knows except for these guys. You do have a meeting coming up with the coaches. Is that what you're trying to do before QLS to
Yep.
kind of get all this? Great.
Yeah, I'm going to get together with the coaches later this week.
Awesome.
Whatever the schedules work out. And I emailed Damon Remy's ops guy yesterday with some questions and kind of what we agreed on. So.
Guys, that's team over me, just so I can shout out a value. Rick's been onboarding for a while with coaching and took it upon himself to do this, gather the coaches and get this done for the community. Like, this is just total team over me. So I appreciate it. I'll call you Maverick for nothing. All right, Judy.
What about deal driven? I don't hear about that much from the coaches or, just like in the masterminds or sit downs. And I know as High Six, we all have access to that. And is there any type of training available on that? Just as lead from
the coaches can answer on the app side. On the PD side, we just haven't done anything with them because we tried to do the deals with them. The tension, both companies was good, but we messed up as much as they did as far as handling the deals that were coming in. And so we just decided it wasn't worth it. We took over the company, Wicked Smart did, and they went away. As far as their app, I don't know, guys, is it still active? Is it someone update that?
I've never used it, I'll be honest.
It is. It's
it's still there. The training's there.
Can you message John? Can you put on the High Six channel? Can you put, not just for Judy, for everyone, how to access that? Unless it's just real easy, you can tell them right now.
Yeah, I think it's if you just go to app, I'll put it in the, I'm on my pad here. So it's app.dealdriven.com. That's actually the app to go find the properties, but I'll have to find the link for the actual training. So sorry, that Deal Driven is like the props train, and we all have access to that, I believe.
Yeah.
At least,
and I'm talking about lead gen, to like pull certain lists and things like that. Like I know PropStream, you can pull lists, like different like niche lists, like Rick has been doing. But I think Deal Driven has that in like foreclosures and different things.
Yeah, that's the app.dealdriven.com. It does that.
Oh, the app does that. Okay, I thought it was a website.
But you still have to pay for it. Like you can pull the list, but it will charge you
to skip trace it. You mean?
Yes.
Okay, Tony, didn't you posted something about that?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a free skip trace component to it, but what I found is that it either doesn't do it or it takes forever, and it's not very accurate. Like I pulled a list of 700 pre-foreclosures in my county, and not a single phone number pops up.
That's why it's free.
Yeah, no shit, right? So I don't know. I don't want to go and spend the money to skip trace it and then end up with no numbers again. I mean, so I'm not 100% confident in whether or not that's what needs to be done in order to get a phone number. Like they have some YouTube videos and stuff, but it doesn't tell you.
Is Deal Driven just the pre-foreclosures and foreclosures?
No.
Okay, I should make sure. So Judy, let's work with your biz a little bit. I know where you are in Maine, you don't get a ton of leads. So you're just thinking of adding variety in addition to what we just talked about, right? More lists.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And right now with your current schedule, I know you're working on things. You still have more time that you could get to more leads, probably.
So I'm pretty much keeping up with expireds, and I've got to work it out with Les as far as the FSBOs, because I'm not sure if he's pulling leads or if he's actually calling off the lists. Because if he's not, then I'm going to jump on those.
Yeah. Okay. My comment, just again for live coaching, would be I like Rick's list because he's had success with it, and I like the list that I've always liked, which is out of state, free and clear. I like Rick's with 3 property owners or more. And I like free and clear. Now, guys, please, I say this every time. You could call the exact same list that Rick is having luck with, and it might be different in your area, and you might be in front of the phone, right? So you got to play with it, just like if you market and you mail things, you got to play with that. It's trial and error, but don't call it a failure if you don't have success. It's you got to keep trying at different things.
Skip tracing in PropStream is pretty good. I mean, there's a very small number of them that are wrong number, but most of them are pretty good numbers.
I think that's where I was kind of going. I asked about deal driven guys, nothing against deal driven, but I mean, Nick and I and Zach don't utilize that now. We thought it was a cool, flashy object is what happened. And then when they went away, we said, okay, forget it. We're not going to, like, you don't need it, quote unquote. Anyway.
If I could add something to deal driven, it does have a driving for dollars app embedded in it. So we talk about driving by a for sale by owner or some other characteristics of a property that you want to identify. You can actually just have it open as you're driving, and you can just hit the property as you go past it. It also identify in the neighborhood or wherever you're driving, pre-foreclosures, vacants, non-owner occupied, auctions, out-of-state owner, tax delinquencies. So it's a good tool. I've used it many times.
So guys, this is for you. If you need to add leads, it's not for you to get distracted if you already have enough leads or you're not even getting to them. Once you like Nick and I and Zach had so much going on, we just like clawing for more leads and we could handle them. So we went and did like ideas like Pete and others are talking about. But if you're not there yet, don't get distracted.
Okay. Is Julie Muse still involved with them?
Oh yeah, Julie and Peter are part. In fact, I think Julie is the face of the company. It's just that we don't do anything with them anymore.
Okay.
They have students bringing us deals. Link handles them, and we give the student like a referral fee because they're not associates. They just send us deals. Brian almost got one last week from one of his sources. So yeah, we'll take deals still into Wicked Smart. We started doing that last year, but with them, we just haven't done anything like focused.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Kelly.
Just a quick question for the group about, well, one of the things that I've been thinking about is with the leads that I do have, how can I stand out or differentiate myself in this crowded field right now? And one of the things that occurred to me that I do in the other brands is I use something called BombBomb, which is video. So it's a video platform for emailing and for texting. And so when you text somebody, it's like, hey, I am a real person. I promise this is legitimate. As we discussed, blah, 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 I'm sending you the information so that there's this short video, that puts, people do business with people they know and like. And so I thought, well, okay, maybe that's one way to do it because it works so well. Like I have a really great conversion rate with the other businesses, different industry. But so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. Has anybody tried that before? How'd that go?
Dr. Amanda has, and she raves about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do that with Dub Video, which is a very similar platform. So all of my emails that I sent were all embedded videos of me explaining a lease purchase and who I am and all that other stuff. They're all videos that were directly made, whatever that specific was. And it also, which I'm assuming yours does too, gathers analytics of how long, if people have opened it, if they, all this different stuff. So I had good luck with it. I did a handful of deals using that when I embedded it into my FreedomSoft CRM.
Perfect. Yeah, it works great on the other. And I don't know why it just occurred to me. I asked myself that question, like, what can I do to stand out and make myself more unique? Because that's a lot of the objection that I get is, they're just tired of hearing from everybody. And so what I think I'm going to do is add it to my email after I talk to them and there may be an interest, just a quick one that's personalized that say, hey, I love talking and it was so great learning more about you. Here's the information I mentioned I would send to you. Please let me, like something that quick that's embedded. And I'm just going to test it and see. So I'll let everybody know whether it's helpful I'm sure it is. There's a whole section for real estate in there. So I'm certain that it will have some kind of impact, but thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I have two comments for everyone. One is please make sure you're using the accreditation. Some of you guys would tell me you just got it on your website. Just make sure everyone's using that in your conversations and on your website, the accreditation and your email signature should be everywhere. Two, the people are tired from getting realtors, wholesalers, and flippers calling them. Let's make sure we're clear. There's not too many markets in this screen with 30 people. There's probably 3 of you that have run to lease purchase competition. So let's make sure we know that you are staying alone. You just gotta get that message across them sooner than later. And the video will be awesome, I'm sure. But just know that. Yeah.
That's good though. It's good though, Kelly. It is helpful. I basically replaced all the cartoon videos with my own videos of me basically using the same exact info for both buyer and seller side, put them on my websites, and then embedded them in emails.
And what Steve did, I tell you guys all to do, because you're gonna make you the authority, not the cartoon or us.
For sure.
Brian, any thoughts before we pivot? We can do some script.
Yeah. I mean, I love Kelly's question. You can tell she's a business owner. How can I stand out from everyone else? Everyone should ask themselves that question. Kelly, what I used to do is I made a YouTube channel. So instead of the animated videos, I drove everyone to the YouTube channel specific to their situation. Like I had a lease purchase, a sub-2 and owner financing one, right? Like then FAQs, so they get all the frequently asked questions. It's me answering them. When I had the property business podcast, I used to send that as well. Some of the sellers would listen to the episode. Again, nobody bought that. Nobody sold me their house because of that. They just trusted me. I still solved their problem. I used to put links on my email of podcasts that I had been on where it was specifically me talking about how I helped sellers related to creative financing. And then the thing I wrote down when you said that, people are tired of hearing from everyone, I always say, hey, let's work on how I can make that stop for you. Because it's not going to stop. You have a house for sale, unless you turn your phone off and put your mailbox, lay it on the ground, like it's not going to stop. So I can help you. I can help make that go away.
There's a script for you guys. It's a confidence script too. All right, they'll stop, and no one tells them that. By the way, if you have at least a deal, I haven't said this in a while on High Six. If you have at least a deal done, you could schedule an interview on the podcast. And then you can use that for credibility. And guess what we'll do in the podcast? Ask you questions that'll give you credibility so you can send it to people. It's all reusing content. That's all it is. We did it with Rusty for his stuff he was working on. Steve's been on several times. Brian, of course, has been on 8 million times. It's not hard to do that if you guys have at least a deal. We can cater it to it. Okay. We'll probably put on a family cast, is what we were running on. Feel free to reach out to me on Slack if you have not been on and you want to be on.
That's a good credibility piece when your sellers are asking for, I want phone numbers of your people you've worked with. Say, listen, go on my site, you got testimonials, research my name, you see plenty of podcasts and information about me. I think you'll be plenty happy once you check it out.
Yeah, and then you moved on after you told them that. Steve didn't dwell on it. Just move on. Plant it, move on.
And then they probably never looked or used it. It was just the fact that you were so confident when you said it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Love it. Okay, we'll take a breath. Any questions at all about anything that's been said before we open it up? And well, I think what we'll do is scripts and then totally open it up in case we run away with a topic. So I'm thinking, Steve, Brian. Any questions at all about anything that's been said? Lead gen. Oh, sorry. The only link I didn't give you guys, if I give you some criteria, if you're not getting enough leads, you've exhausted, you have time, you're disciplined, you're making the phone calls, and your budget allows it, then I would tack on lead mining pros. They only call out of state absentee, I think it is. No, it's absentee. It's smartrealestatecoach.com/lead mining pros. Dr. Amanda, by the way, is /inner power or inner power data. I think inner power. Okay. There were a lot of calls. Let's go script, guys. Let's pivot. Steve, Nick, Brian, let's pivot a little bit here. There were a lot of calls this week that I was critiquing, so it must be everywhere, that we're not closing out or handling properly the comment about I'll just rent. We've talked with this on this call before, and I posted a call. My days of blending. I think it was yesterday where I had a seller on the phone, and they actually said that. So that's on the script channel if you want to listen to it. I just used the exact wording that I give you guys. So do we have questions or need help around this, or does someone want to work this through a little bit? Like, were you stumped? I'll just rent it.
Josh,
Josh is
over here.
raising to speak.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at that, Chris. I had a call like that this week. I think I told you about it on our call yesterday. Can you just walk us all through it?
Sure, we can be back. You're gonna the AO. It's kind of the AO script. Excuse me. So let's have a few people chime in, and then could everybody commit to listen to my live call on the script channel? I mean, I'm just suggesting you do. There's so much going on the script channel lately from the coaches, and I do every time I do calls. I post at least one, if not three, that they're current, and so I would live in there. Steve, Brian, Rick, let's comment on the seller says, I'll just rent it.
Brian, you want to go first?
Yeah, that call's 2 minutes, by the way. So there's no reason for none of you to not listen to it. Like immediately after this is over with, it's 2 minutes.
The one I did is 2.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes. I mean, you
That's
could
long.
play it right now. Yeah, I know. It's like it's super short. But yeah, it's just a lack of closing it out. And I'm not going to be able to say it verbatim, but I know what I would say, which would be, okay, great. I'm not trying to convince them to do an AO. I'm just saying, hey, look, great. Before you do that, because again, they're still selling. They're still trying to sell with a realtor. Their backup plan is I'm going to rent. Okay, great. Before you do that, make sure you call me, because I can make it so that you'll get your price, you'll get cash flow, and you won't have the headaches of being a landlord. That's probably all I would say.
I think that's all I
and
said.
then let them bring it back to me.
If nobody heard, how many people heard the call? If you didn't hear it, I can play it. Oh, a lot of you did. Great. So the other half, maybe, yeah, okay, go and listen to it. Good deal. Steve and Rick, any tweak?
I was just going to say, what about the additional thing? Oh, okay. Have you ever been a landlord?
Yeah, it's Brian's line for sure.
I mean, I say exactly what Brian says. The only thing I say, I just am a little assumably the way that I say it. I just say, okay, so it sounds like if I would assume, that if you got your full price, same cash flow as if you rented it, didn't have to be a landlord, that would probably work better for you than just renting it. I say it a little more assumably. That's the only difference, but the information is identical.
Yep. Rick, any tweaks? Or?
Well, that's pretty much what I say. What Brian said.
Yep. And the lady, I think if I recall, if it's the right call, Brian, time from on the wrong call, the lady was trying to get out of it a couple times. Like, no, I got it. Like, I'll just rent it. Like, I got it.
He was. That was fair. Same lady.
I do like what Brian says, though, always, and Nick kind of touched on it, is, are you prepared to be a landlord? Because that kind of sets you into the whole, if you didn't have to worry about being a landlord, you get your price and cash flow with that. I'm assuming that would work better for you. I like that question first before we even say that.
And Josh, because you're in the biz, I know it was wholesale. They don't know that. You could say, oh, I try to stay away from being a landlord for a lot of it. Just a little fair. Josh, is that helpful? That it's only a couple lines. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Now, all you guys, you're going to get somebody say, I'll just rent it this week if you do enough dials. Promise you. So let's get a critique. That's all. It takes a few critiques. You're okay.
Chris, if they're ready to be sued by crackheads.
What was that? Oh, yeah. Hey, we could write a book, and then maybe someday Nick and I will, actually, because it would be hilarious. Every story you can imagine. Yes.
I have a video of a landlord whose tenants moved out and just trashed the place, took out the windows, everything, and spray painted. And his anger just builds when he's going through the house, and he starts crying. And I think I'm going to post that because it's so powerful of what a landlord can end up being like,
Post in the high 6, because what happens is the people think that they also have permission, Pete, and they turn it into social media, which I got to go delete. So just post in the high 6 because it's a follow-up to this call, right?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
We're going to go to Dr. Hoop, and then I want to talk about
wait a minute.
Josh's call.
I just want to see, so are you giving permission for everyone to go to YouTube and find a video and post it to the
No, Pete brought up an applicable and he's gonna do it.
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
Yep, thank you. No, Adam posted something, but Adam's newer to the community. Adam posted something this week and I just deleted it. And said, you can't, because everyone will follow, especially if a high six does it. Everybody will follow. And you have all this crap on it. You'll never find out what the hell time the mastermind call is because you get all this stuff on that. Dr. Hoops.
Back on the AO, I've had a few sellers say, well, wait a minute. So I think it's going to take you longer to find a buyer than it would for me to find a renter. And in my head, I'm thinking that's kind of true. I get 10 people wanting to rent the property like every single day, but rarely do we find one that wants to buy it. I don't say that, but how do I respond to that?
I'll have Nick comment on this, and actually any coaches, but my comment would be, okay, the quality of the renters, you can find one tomorrow, put it out, and you can have a renter tomorrow. I'm not telling you you're not going to trash your place and tear your windows out and burn your house down, but you got one. We're not talking about quantity here. We're talking about quality. I can find you someone that's not going to trash your house, going to treat it like their buyer, behave like their buyer, and can't wait to own it. Does that sound like a tenant? I don't know. That's just my knee jerk. Does anyone else have comments on that? Nick, maybe you'd say it doesn't take as long. I'd like to hear your comment on that, actually.
Well, I would just answer, is there a question or is he just making a statement, John?
I think his pain point is he doesn't want to pay the mortgage anymore, and maybe doesn't care about being a landlord. But in his mind, he's thinking, "Oh wait, they got to put a down payment down, and that seems like that's going to take a while." And I think, well, I mean, it could take a while. That's why we have a marketing period.
Well,
but,
yeah, it's gonna take time to find a buyer, because you could rent it in a heartbeat and you could get someone in there and stop the bleeding. However, what you're not accounting for is how many months, even up to years, it's going to cost you, and how many mortgage payments it's going to cost you.
That's where I was going.
Making that payment, and how much you're going to pay for attorney fees, court costs, clean out when they trash the property. You're not accounting for that.
Right.
Yeah, John, you could even, by the way, you probably call this guy back because nothing's dead till it's dead, we said. How much is your mortgage payment? Doesn't matter what he says. My mortgage payment is $1,500. All right, so $1,500 is like another month for you. Or what if it was 2 months? And if it's an AO, you could say, we're going to get multiples of that. And guess what the difference is? Your security deposit means what when you get that from a renter? It means you're going to get it back. The house is kept up. You're not giving this deposit back. It's non-refundable. So the cash flow, you could simplify the cash flow thing. Can you handle 2 more months? Just ask them. By the way, if they can't handle 2 more months, everybody, should John not try to turn this into a buy?
I mean, I love that seller. I would. Yeah. I can't wait to call him back, John. Do you want to rent it or do you want to sell it? Of course, it's going to take longer to find a buyer. Of course, it is. Do you want to rent it or do you want to sell it?
I have a quick question.
And then he starts talking about the payments. What Chris said, how long can you go for? Does he have equity? Is it, if the payment's low enough, could you not turn it into a sub-2 deal and give him a target date? Like, how long can you go for? Well, 90 days. All right, well, I could potentially start making payments to you in 90 days.
Yeah, that would change his tune immediately, John. As long as there's equity for you, as long as there's a reason to do this. Someone else had a question.
I did. I have this exact situation with the lease purchase I've been going back and forth with you on. And the lady basically has decided to rent it month to month so that she can fix her cash flow issue while looking at the lease purchase stuff. Is that, I understand and agree with everything that's been said in terms of the pain points to hit, the potential of them tearing up the property. I also think can be somewhat of a hard sell if someone hasn't had that experience and has multiple rentals and has good renters. Their immediate response is going to be, well, I've got 7 rentals right now and I don't have any issue with any of them. So why are you saying,
all right, let's go. Let's not do hypothetical. Let's do this lady. This lady fixed her cash flow by putting it a month to month. So could you go back to what Brian said, and could you have been the one, you could call us the partner, whatever you're gonna do, could you have been the one that could fix her cash flow issue if that was her only issue? Perhaps, maybe. Because if I recall the lead sheet without me calling it up, there's equity in that house, right?
Yep.
Okay, so she cares more about now than she does 3 years down the road equity. So what if I solved your cash flow problems right now, Mr. Seller? You don't have to risk a tenant buyer. We just need to make some adjustments on your equity. That's my knee jerk. Brian, what do you think? Rick, Steve?
I just know it's an absolute nightmare trying to sell any house that has a tenant in it. Nick will tell you that 1,000 times over. So just know that if you're going into anything with a tenant in it, it's gonna really dampen the chance of you selling it significantly.
And her.
I don't even candidly, everyone, I don't even count when someone says, "Oh, I get good news, I got a take and it has a tenant in it." I don't even count that as a take, and it's not a deal. Personally, because you can't sell it. You can't get people in there. You can't guarantee at least you're going to be able to get people in there until that tenant's gone.
We've had not had good luck. Yeah, not had good luck. Chris, I'd go the route that we were kind of telling Hoops to go. And if you need help so you don't commit to something you don't want to do, just let's brainstorm it. Unless you already rented. If you already rented month to month, it's kind of too late. But I just didn't want to go the hypothetical route because a few of us on this call do that, and you can go. There could be a tornado tomorrow. My building could blow down before closing, but it might not happen though. So I don't want to do hypotheticals. I'm not picking on you. I'm saying a lot of us do that because we're afraid. That's all. Dr. Hoop, is that an old hand or a new hand? Oh, you're good then?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I forgot. Lower it.
No, you're good. I didn't know if you had another question. Coaches, chime in here. I don't want to be ranting. If there's something you need to add, please. If I'm off kilter on anything, I was going to pivot to Josh's call next. If we don't have questions so far on the AO rental, I'm going to rent any of that. Are we good? Okay.
I think just more on that. Sorry, just more on the point of this particular conversation, or why you said you have to set up. You have to end the call the proper way, is because, again, you're not convincing anyone on this. You're not ever convincing anyone, but this is not the scenario where you're going to, oh, wait, now that you told me about that, I'm ready to sell my house to you. They're still going to do what they're going to do. You're just properly closing the call. And every time you talk to a seller, you're setting it up for the time that they're at the end of their rope, and you planted those seeds. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't get the price you want and the time frame you want, like, you're just closing out every call to set up the next one, right? Where are you going? Did you give up on going to Texas to be with your family? Like, that's why we tell you to do all this stuff, is because when you get to like the 7th or the 8th call, and even maybe you've gone on an appointment, like, writing up the contract and getting the deal is like easy. It's a foregone conclusion.
Brian, can I tack something onto that? Absolutely, 100%. Plant the fair seed before you get off. Secondly, what do you do when you do that and you get off the phone and it's not a now lead? You send a form letter. You guys, every call you've heard me post, a form letter went out, unless I was going to the appointment. Like, they booked an appointment for John Clark and I yesterday. I didn't send him a form letter. I'm all set. I'll just confirm the appointment when it comes closer. So say what Brian said, closure, plant fair seed about the market or whatever you're doing, and then form letter. Okay. Let's pivot to Josh's message. Josh, you okay with that? Live coaching? You okay with that? Permission?
I have a question.
100%.
Good deal, buddy. Go ahead, Pete.
Just trying to remember, what's the time to when a property sells, from when it gets under contract to when it sells?
I tell people 5 to 120 days because that's been our track record. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because I'm just wondering what the comparison might be if we have that conversation with a seller. Well, I'm just going to rent it. Well, how long is it going to take for you to find a suitable tenant for what you're specifically looking for, month to month or whatever?
Yeah. It's more about all that risk crap and all that stuff. But yes, I answer from 5 to 120. If I can do it, it's going to be in that window, I say. Uncle Clark.
Sorry, can I just clarify what you just said? I think I heard you say anytime a lead is not now, you send a form letter. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's 10 of them, right? Or 11 in QLS.
Yep.
I have the lead sheet from Les, still old school. I write on it, Sue, send number 2, Sue, send number 6. And I either say trash it after that or give it back. And give it back would be someone that said they sold. So I sent the sold letter, but they still had all the contingencies hanging. So I want to call it again, not just mail a letter and forget about it. That type of thing. That makes sense.
So even if you plan on calling again, you still send the form letter.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Josh hit. We have a team channel with Josh's team and me and Brian. One of us got to add Steve. Josh, if you can add Steve. And
I added him.
Okay, good. And Josh does awesome. He uses it, right? He says, "Hey, I get the seller. Can someone help me with this?" And it gives us a chance to coach him in addition to his nightly accountability, which also gives us a chance to coach him. So Josh, you want to lay out the seller almost exactly what you told us, like 30-second message, and then Brian will coach this through like we did so far.
This is the Kurt and Aurelius, right? The one from today, just to make sure I'm saying the right one.
Yeah, the one that wanted the down, and then So let me set this up, you guys. So he'll tell you the scenario. Then I answered him, and I said, "Brian, you're on this thread. What do you think?" We kind of on the same page, so we'll coach it live. But go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Fizbo, spoke with him last Friday. He's out of state, nice property. Called him, and he basically was like, "Yeah, I'm selling the property. I'm open to seller financing." So I immediately asked him, like, "Well, what did this other person offer you?" And he kind of goes through it, and he's like 15% down, 8.75% on a 30-year AM, pre-penalty. I was like, "Hey, that's fine. I know we could do better than that. I want to go and see the property." And he was super open to it. So that's sort of where we're at. And then I sent a follow-up email, and he came back and basically just, verbatim spat out that other offer. And he's like, "That's what I want."
Okay, so I could play the message, but my message to Josh, and then Brian will say what he added, was I personally, and the reason I said, "Brian, what do you think?" Because sometimes I have a 2 going on that day, and I'm like a little more blunt. Because I said what I would do is just make the guy wait. Like I would have said, it's not for us, but if you don't get that, so go take it. But if you don't get that number in the time frame you want, something falls apart, then use me as your plan B, and then I ignore him for a while. That's what I said. But that script is important when you guys use that script. And then Brian, you chimed in, I think verbatim, but added something.
Yeah, I just said, I added something for Josh, not for the seller. I just always ask sellers when they start talking about these super deals and they try to see if you can beat them. Like, why didn't you take that on the spot?
That's a great deal.
Pretty good. That sounds pretty good to me. And then what I didn't hear was why, where, when. Like you probably just went into, "Hey, yeah, I'm open owner financing." You just go right there. Like you still have to have the why, where, and the when. And then I had told you, I said, "Look, anybody's going to be interested in that deal, or at least open to it with a pulse. 9% interest and 15% down. Most people are going to listen to that, especially FISBOs who are out of state, and they likely have more property. So you just have to kind of reel in your excitement a little bit, because those really aren't necessarily typically deals unless there's some type of pain."
And here's the other script I gave Josh that I hope you guys are all using, because there's like 4 keywords in it. I understand it's awesome offer. You go through all that. 99% of the properties I buy are from sellers who, now here are the keywords, from sellers who don't need a small down payment. Instead, they prefer to max out their price. What you will get a lot, the real truth will come out if you didn't get the where, when, why, like Brian said, because they'll say, their ego will say, "Well, I don't need it." Oh, okay. Well, where are you going? No, you get back to the basics. So many times their ego comes out.
I haven't had a chance to listen to your guys' feedback yet, by the way.
Oh.
So as soon as I get off this call, I will. But his motivation was just he thought that the market was the right time to sell and maximize his profit out of the property.
So he doesn't have any motivation.
Yeah, is this the one I'm looking at right? I'm sorry, is this the one I'm looking at right now where he wants just insane numbers for everything? 8.75% interest, 15% down?
Yeah, 15.
where these are numbers that maybe he could get directly working with a buyer. There's no room for a business here to guarantee it.
Right.
What do I need you for?
A family and can't get a house. Good,
Right.
Brian.
What do I need you for? I go to a bank and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't say that to him. I might if he was an a-hole. But seriously, what do you need him for? You can go to the bank, get a better rate, less down, and you can undercut his price. If you want your number, and in some cases more, if we get the term we want, I'm your guy. Otherwise, I would take that other deal all day long.
And then ignore. And then the format I would have sent is cash only. Or not now, probably cash only.
Can I make an assumption here? And I don't, you tell me, Josh, but if you're getting this in an email, there's a good chance he mentioned stuff like this on a call with you, but you didn't hit it at a head when it was said. Am I wrong about that?
Well, no, he did mention that on the call.
Okay.
Then, I used the Safria and, because we had another hot lead that we lost because he basically almost the exact same scenario of somebody else. And he even sent us a copy of what they sent him. And I think we went over on the high six call a couple of weeks ago. So at least I did a key learning. I did use that. And he's like, oh, that's great. And then I sent him like our website and stuff. But yeah, he did mention that. But he didn't say, he said he was open to anything. So maybe that's on me for not closing him there and seeing if that was non-negotiable for him, if that's what he absolutely had to have. Because if it was, then it's not a deal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, first off, you didn't lose anything. You don't lose anything until you didn't sell it after you had it taken. And you know what I mean? So don't worry about that. I don't know.
And Steve, you didn't lose any either because if you didn't put any money down, you didn't commit to it and you had to.
That's right.
It's all good.
Right. So all I would suggest is going forward, like I would have already, like when this conversation happened, I would have hit all of these things. If he said that 50% down, 8.75, I would have just at least told him and put boundaries on all of those, because there's no point of him wasting his time even sending us to us if we're that far apart. So I would probably work on open and honest communication up front and say, listen, sounds like you're looking for a deal you'd probably do directly with the person who's going to live in the house. I wouldn't be able to make any of these work here. If you're looking to make the most, and you don't need the money today, without a doubt, you're going to make the most with me with the least, without any headaches at all in the future. But that sounds like that's not necessarily as important to you as it is with all these little, things that they're saying here, 50% down, all that other stuff.
Yeah, Josh, one of the things that I've run into it a couple of times, and the sellers actually shared the other offers with me from some of our so-called competitors, and they're being offered a large down payment, more than market rent for monthly payment to them. And I just sat down and said, look, I said, I got to pay taxes. I've got to pay insurance just as you would. So right there, that makes their offer just not even reasonable.
And probably default if they even do it. But Josh, would be interested to listen to that voice texting, but very similar to this chat. And then well, leave it at that. Act on those and let's see what happens over time.
Will do.
Any questions, you guys, on owner financing or any of this stuff?
You think that sellers just throw out that type of ridiculous ask just to get you off, just to see what you'll bite on?
I can't tell you, Pete, how many times I just say, nope, I wouldn't be putting down a down payment. Nope, I wouldn't be doing 8.75% interest. And you just listen. They're testing to see what it is, just like we do the same thing with me putting up boundaries, right? They're putting up their boundary. It doesn't mean they're married to it. This is like the stretch of where I would like to be. Let's see how he reacts. She reacts.
It's just so over the top to me, those terms.
Yeah, don't let it affect you. It doesn't make a difference, right? It's just like, listen, I completely understand. If this is what you need to make it work, completely understand I wouldn't be your buyer. If we were to work together, we would have to be more in this line. How does that work for you?
So if it doesn't sell in the time frame you want for the price you want, give me a call. That's all you gotta do, guys, every time. End the call with call to action.
Here's something you could do, all of you, because this happens to all of us. I want 20% down, 8% interest. I'm willing to do a 5-year term, amortize over 30 years. I'd write all the information down and be like, why are you selling the house? Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. Why are you selling the house? If you don't understand what they're trying to get done, you have nothing to grasp at. Like, then you could say, hey, look, I can help you do that thing. I can help you get to your grandkids. I could take this house out of your life forever because you hate dealing with it because you just told me that. I can get you to your number, but I can't do all that other stuff. But I can help you get this house out of your hair. You don't have to respond to it. That's the other tactic. You don't have to respond to it. Why are you selling where you go and when you need to be there by?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, by the way, I just
motivation,
found
keep
out
going.
there's a tenant.
There's
What
a
was that?
tenant?
I just found out he just sent me a message. He has a tenant in there. So even another reason why this is not a good deal.
Open to anything. If a seller says I'm open to anything, that's almost as bad as downsizing.
I think you're right.
Seriously.
You're right, Brian.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a kiss of death. I mean,
I
they're
am.
not.
Thank you. Yes,
Well,
thank you. I am.
You know, you just don't. The point is, you don't want to spend a lot of time with it.
No.
It's kind of an energy suck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And when you guys do enough calls, you'll get to the point where you don't even have time for them. Promise you that. And Josh, you're headed there for sure. You got enough. You're starting to get some momentum. Right. Good. The other thing I heard last week is too much still is talking about heavy price talk on when you're talking about lease purchase without getting to what they thought they would net and working on just that number. Heard it a few times. So just a reminder for you guys. You're not talking about price. You're talking about their net on a sandwich lease. For sure on a sandwich lease. And that, by the way, that sort of differentiates you without, that's not even the purpose of it, but it does, because you're not talking price. You immediately get in reality. Any questions on how to handle that, you guys?
Chris, when you say net, you mean like net after commissions and stuff, or do you mean for the equity?
Yeah, equity.
Locking in the equity.
After everything. So the conversation that I just did in the workshop last week, so it's on my mind. The one Nick and I did was, all right, it was expired. It was on the agent. I see that it was on for $229.9, whatever it was. What did you think you were going to get? You know, after negotiation, after home inspection, possible issues, unless the house is pristine. And after expenses, what do you think you're going to net? That's the number we're working on. Not price, because then you're just in line with everybody else. And definitely not when you email or send, you know, you got to, when you're emailing talking about that, you're not talking price. I can net you this. We're gonna have some time for Q&A. I have one more thing to bring up. Sean made me think of it. Sean, I think, had a cell that committed suicide, and the house is left. Did Sean stay on? Is Sean here?
Yeah, he's right there. He's got his hand raised.
Oh, hey, Sean. You have something else before I go into your deal?
That's exactly what I was going to ask about
Okay.
that.
All right. I'm going to hit a few things, and then because we're live and that was only a text, I'm going to dig into your deal a little bit. Nick and I have had 2 sandwich leases. One just happened this week, by the way, and one happened 2 years ago where the seller passed away. It just goes into their estate. You're just dealing with different people than you are the seller. That's all that happens, just so you don't panic. We literally, Zach was like, what? He was shocked yesterday. We told him this guy passed away. And 2 or 3 years ago, we had one where the guy was like our spokesperson. He would go around town looking for deals. He liked us so much. He passed away. We cashed it out, no problem. It's going to be the attorney handling probate or whoever's handling the estate. It's not a problem. Sean's was different. Sean helped me out. Sean's was the guy had already committed suicide, and I just said, just find out who owns the house. Like, was it in his name? You got to go probate. You got to go attorney. Is it in the wife's name? Like, what? Do you know who owns the house?
Yeah, it was in both of their names. So we're looking at putting together an offer. There was just a concern that I guess there's a semi truck in the yard too. Stephen Denny went to go see that. And yeah, he had killed himself a month ago, and it was a strange call, needless to say.
Obviously delicate, but if they want your help, you can help, and you'd need to speak with their attorney.
Okay.
Chris, I have a question on that. As far as disclosures, from my understanding, you have to disclose if somebody did that in a home.
I'm pretty sure every state disclosure has that. I honestly don't know, Rick, but see, this is far different than we're cashing out a sandwich. You're just going to deal with a different party. This is you're dealing with a family that probably wants closure in their defense, Sean. You know, and you're gonna. This is I'm not being a pessimist, but you're gonna have an attorney. If I was their attorney, I'd be like, you guys want closure. You don't want, you know. So
Yeah,
you might be
that's
dealing with
I didn't want to rain on your parade, Sean, but that's what I was thinking as well.
So
Well,
there's
John-
than just making an offer to him.
Say again, sorry.
I said, so there's a bit more to this than just making an offer to them. We need to talk to their attorney, you said?
Well, because then the wife's on the title, and the husband died, and he's on the title. That's got to go through either their estate
I think
planning
it's-
or their probate.
Yeah, and you got to think of it. You got to think of it like this: it's the attorney has a relationship with the realtor, and like they all feed each other business. And literally, it has to go through a process that requires it by law to be listed on the MLS if it's going through probate and everything. So
No, Nick, no. They don't have to list it, but I do agree with the first part of your statement. That's foreclosure. I agree with the first part. They're going to want closure. They're going to want their homies to just close that baby out. Then, in our opinion, doesn't mean you can't try it.
Would the attorney service that is provided, would this be something they could help handle?
Meaning, talk to their attorney or take over the estate.
Yeah, just be able to sort it out, help to sort it out, and get it to a position where it can be, you know, the contract could be realized.
I mean, I'm sure they could, Pete. I personally wouldn't want to start trying to get an attorney involved in their probate and their estate and all that crap. Me, I would have 50 other things I'd want to do. If they have zero attorney and they cry on Sean's shoulder and say, "Could you help me with that?" Yeah, you're not going to turn your shoulder, but I would think they have an attorney. Sean, you can ask. Do you have an attorney?
I'm gonna follow up with her and just dig a little bit deeper. When she originally had told me that he died, that's what she said. He died a month ago. And then when they went there, she said, yeah, he committed suicide a month ago. And it was like, oh, that sounds different than he died a month ago.
You just got to ask the question, then let us know, do they have an attorney right now working on this?
Okay.
If they don't, I'd be baffled if he passed away a month ago. They got to have an attorney on this.
Just for everyone's sake, we had a rent-owned buyer in one of our properties, our Wicked Smart Finance properties, and he died as well.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it's all you guys are all going to come across this stuff. So it's 4 for us, but
It's a cycle of life.
Sean, let us know once you find out that answer if we can help. Okay. Here's what I'd want to know with the attorney. By the way, let's take it to the next level. The attorney gets on. You know they're working on. They're professional. I'd want to know how many heirs are there, and do the heirs prefer a cash out or more money over time? That's the simple question. That's what we do with all estates. And I'm very delicate with how I ask. I understand it's tough. Do you guys prefer closure for less money? Now I get it if you do, or would the heirs prefer more money over time?
Okay.
Because the attorney might be thinking, the other twist to this is if it needs a crap load of work, I don't know if it does. You guys went, but that's another expense, right? So it just depends on the situation of the estate. How well off are they? What's going on? Just do some digging with the attorney.
Okay.
Become his or her buddy and see if you can help them. If not, it's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
You bet. That's a different one. That's worth talking about. Well, we blew by those stories, Nick. I told you. Do you guys have, before I go to Morgan, any questions? Well, let's go to Morgan. Maybe it has to do with the deaths. Any questions on those sandwich leases and how that works? Morgan?
It's not about the death. This was about the net that you were talking about before. Do you want me to wait?
Right. No, go ahead.
Okay. So I have trouble getting the net I think I must be asking it wrong. A lot of times people are kind of baffled by the question, like what? I don't know what, the way you explained it, that's a good next thing for me. But I'm sometimes maybe actually a significant proportion, like percentage of the sellers that I speak to, English isn't the first language, and there's some stuff there sometimes. But how hard do you push to get like to that net number versus just, okay, move on and then circle back another time, like at an appointment or something?
I mean, it's hard to do a hypothetical without a call, but I don't get too caught up in it. But if it's standoffish because they think they don't want to share mortgage information, there's a script for that. If it's standoffish because they don't understand the language, then you slow it down and tell them to spell it out for them. So are you guys all comfortable with the, I don't want to give you mortgage information? I mean, I don't think Brian, Steve, I haven't heard you guys get that. I don't get it. It's usually if you're newer, but do you know the script in case you do get the comment? Why do you need the mortgage information? Does anybody want the script, or are everybody comfortable?
Is it no problem? We can get to that later.
You could, but I'm saying there is a script part depending on where you want to use it, and it's just very confidently, very nonchalant. Why do you need? You don't need that. Why do you need that? We buy property, owner financing, or lease purchase. Both of those require me to structure around debt if there is someone. So I would need to know that eventually. We can come back. Anyone else?
I'm just gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say too, like I always use the same exact example when like they want to understand what that means after you say that, Chris. Say it's very simple, assuming we're talking about a lease purchase. You say very simple. Let's say this is a hypothetical, has nothing to do with your property, but let's say you wanted $200,000 for your house. You currently owe $100,000. That means you have $100,000 of equity. Do we agree there? Yes. All right, perfect. We would lock that in and we would cash you out for that $100,000 on or before whatever timeline we were both comfortable with. I use the same example that is the easiest to digest. Like basically a child can understand what I'm saying kind of deal. I use it over and over and over again.
I like it, Steve. I do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Or I just use their numbers round and make up a mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Morgan and everyone, if you're talking to an expired, they should already have this. Okay, this is another opportunity for you to educate your sellers, especially if they're thinking about going and hiring another realtor. Feel like your realtor didn't give you a seller net sheet?
Exactly.
No. Okay, well, you need to fire him or her. That's exactly what they get after it's all said and done. Like, this is the number to you at the end if we sell it for the price that we have it listed for. And I hear it all the time. Sellers don't have it. So use that as an opportunity to educate them. Like, I've said that if you go hire another realtor, because I'm not going to talk them out of it. If you go hire another realtor, make sure they give you that. Yep. You need to know what you're getting at the end. That's what I'm talking about.
If you're giving them that advice, Brian, I love it. I would also give them, I think it was on a recent call I posted on the Scripts channel. Don't tie it up for more than 90 days. The market will speak to you in 90 days. The market will tell you if you're priced right. You don't need to tie it up for long on that.
Quicker than that in most cases.
What was that, Nick?
Quicker than that in most cases.
Yeah. So yesterday, one of the sellers said to me, I said, how long are you tied up for? I don't know if this is the one that's posted. They said 90. I said, perfect. You'll know by then. And so we can talk. I think it is the one posted. So we can talk at the end of that. And I should call it just before it. Cousin Morris.
Yeah, so just on that script. So I know that a lot of times, Chris, you try to get them to go lower. Like, in other words, let's say they're looking for $500,000 for the house. Their mortgage is $300,000. So, or they won't tell you the mortgage. So you basically tell them, hypothetically, if your mortgage was $300,000, so we would guarantee you that you're going to get paid that $200,000. But I know that I've heard you, Chris, before say that you really want to get it lower than that because you want to take out commissions and all this other stuff. But if you set it up that way, you stuck at that 200 number.
No, same as Steve said. It's just a hypothetical, so you understand how the lease purchase component works. That's all it is. I haven't seen your home yet or visited your numbers, and you just didn't give me a mortgage number, so I don't know your numbers yet. I'm just telling you how a lease purchase works.
Right. I just feel like I've had that before, and then I get locked into that number, that 200 number, and then it's hard for me to get them off of that number to try to get it.
then here's my pivot, and these guys can comment. If you feel that you've had a few of those, Mars, then my comment that me and Steve used would be a little different. Whatever number we determine that you would have netted, or whatever number we determine is going to be protected, we protect that. Just keep it vague.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Morris, get rid of the word guarantee. Just say, "Oh, lock in that $200,000 of equity, and we cash out on it before that timeline we're both comfortable with," because they're not going to see the word guarantee in their agreements, right? So if people remember words like that, and then if you didn't say it, they may not be looking for it. But if you said it, they're going to be looking for it.
It's good, Steve. Lock it in. Cool. Let's see. Okay, we have time. It's your time, guys. We're gonna. Oh, sorry. Was that you, Brian?
No.
Nope.
I want to do final thoughts here in a few, but we have some more Q&A we could bang out. Does someone have it? We can do one or two, depending on how long it is. Anyone have anything else this week or in the last month that they're struggling with that they want help with?
Rob,
you're up.
Hey guys. So I've been working on this sub 2 deal. The gentleman is an expired listing. The gentleman already moved. He's out of the house. He moved to Illinois. His house is in Pennsylvania. And I just found out yesterday that he's behind on his mortgage. 2 payments, and then he's got the third one's coming up in September. So he'll be 3 months behind.
Beautiful.
So he wants to sell yesterday, of course. He has about $100,000 of equity in the house.
Perfect. Is anyone structuring this with you yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, you just painted like a perfect sub 2 scenario. Perfect sub 2 scenario. How much is the monthly payment?
His monthly payment is, I think it was like, hold on, I have it written down here.
You want to?
It was about $2,100 a month.
Okay.
And that included taxes, insurance.
You want to get this lead sheet over ASAP. I'll give you guys my schedule in a minute. I wouldn't be the one because I gotta leave. But either Steve or Rusty or Brian.
I did send it to you and Brian early this morning.
Okay, great. I definitely didn't see it yet. So is Steve on that thread?
No, he's not. I could include him though.
Yeah, let's start a new thread with all three of us because Brian's going to Mexico. I'm in the middle of a move and homeless for 5 nights, literally.
All right.
And then Steve can help us in that time period. However, I'm available by myself. You guys know that when I'm in Vermont.
Sure.
So without knowing details, did you see this house?
Yes, I did. I was there. I think Thursday I was there. I did a walkthrough. It's in good shape. You know, the only thing is he didn't have the electricity turned on. I think he wasn't paying that either. But I was able to get in the house, walk around, and looked at everything. You know, it's in good shape.
Okay, so Rob, this guy's 2 months away from, depending who the bank is, from not getting 1 penny on this house. So I would tell him I would go for first, and Brian and these guys can chime in. I would go for I can close this thing fairly quickly, catch up your arrears, and buy it for what's owed. And then he's going to say he wants some money, then you can negotiate. But the point is he's going to get 0 and records credit for 7 years. Let's be clear. 7 years of pain, no cash. You're saying you can fix his credit, maybe give him some shuffle off the Buffalo money, and take care of his headache forever, not have a 7-year headache. That's my gut. Brian and Rick and Steve, if you guys have anything to add, there's no wrong way. Rusty's shaking his head too. Whatever. There's no wrong way to do this. You can negotiate that back end.
Yeah, just driving the point home for everyone. A seller who is behind on their payments has no equity in the house. They have none because they don't have a house. So avoid telling them what you think it is. Like they can say whatever they want, but then it's what Chris said. Hey, I can catch. And this guy's got the lights off, crying out loud. Like he's well on his way to losing the house. So, I mean, it's I'll buy it for you. I'll pay your closing costs. We'll catch you up. You can be done with the house forever. There is no $100,000.
Right.
and their credit starts repairing instantly.
Typically, you could say this, typically, we're going to start making the payments. So typically it's going to take about 6 months and you're going to see improvement. You move on with your life. And people that are in the dumps sometimes say, I don't care what the credit. I say, no, you will. In about a year, you will. You'll realize what you did and you will. So let's just work this out.
It's all scripting, though. If you invite that there's equity, they'll think there's equity. If you stop it immediately and let them know what the situation is, that's the expectation that you'll have going forward.
Well, let's help Rob with this then, Steve. Good point. Rob, did the conversation already go to equity? Because if it did, your only pivot is you spoke with your partners and they'd like to talk. You know, you have to pivot that way if you already gave them.
Right. No, I did in the beginning, before I went to see the property, but when he sent me over his mortgage information yesterday, that's when I found out that he was in the rears.
Great. So you're okay. Great. You could say, I had no idea you're in arrears. This is a different ballgame. Let me tell you what I can do, like Brian said.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
This
sub
is
5% too. He's 4.875. I'm looking at the mortgage sheet
good.
right now.
This is a good deal, Rob. Yeah, let's rope us in.
Okay. Awesome.
John, is it a quick one?
No, not really. I can talk to one of you guys about it.
Okay. Let me tell you guys quickly. Brian, you leave when?
Saturday.
He leaves Saturday. You'll see him at QLS. I leave. I got to move out of my house tomorrow. I won't have internet, but I won't be back till next Thursday. But by about Monday, you guys feel free to text me like Monday to Thursday next week. I can help you out. When I get back, I got to move again. So I got a lot of moves going on. But I'll be on my cell. I will not be on Slack. Is why I'm bringing this up. So if you're waiting for me, you're gonna be bumming. That's why we've been Steve. You guys formally the first to know, but Steve's gonna be working with us too. If you haven't noticed, starting right after QLS, and Mr. Rick Abbiati is gonna be working with Starter. Some people that are working with Steve now probably gonna want to join this group. That's my guess at QLS. And some people are going to like Rick more because look at him. How can you not like him? So that's a very positive change you have coming up. But if you have a thread going on, me and Brian, we've tag teamed and we think it's working great. Do a new thread with Steve.
It's incentive for people to upgrade to i6.
What was that?
It's incentive for people to upgrade to i6.
It's a big incentive. Some will want to stay with Steve. Frankly, it's just the nature of the beast, right? And when Mike McCree's moved levels, that's what happened. And others will want to because it's now 3 coaches. It used to be just me. It's a big difference. So, all right, let's do as brief as we can. Final thoughts. Remember, final thoughts are not a breakdown of the last hour and 45-minute meeting in your head. It's just kind of how you're feeling right now. Like, I'm feeling positive. I got this aha out of it. My best takeaway was this. Whatever's coming to mind for you, literally. I'll tell you guys, I'll start, I usually end it. I get energized by the high 6 calls. I really do, because enough of you are doing enough now. Nick came to me today and said, look at all these buyer inquiries we have. It's like we used to have for our properties, and it's all with students, and most is high 6. So I'm just juiced to be with you guys. And now Steve moving into, we're going to just kick some butt. You guys already made up the majority of the deals, and it's going to go through the roof after QLS, especially if you have QLS. All right, let's go. I'm just going to look at my board. Let's go to Dr. Hoops. Final thoughts.
I like what Kelly had to say about standing out. I liked her video idea. Also, the form letters. I need to start doing those. I've never done those, period. So that's another way to stand out as well. So
great. And let me change the language, Hoops. Everybody does it. You don't need to do anything. You're going to start using it, right? Yeah. I get to. Kyle.
Final thoughts is kind of just around what Brian was saying about the referral program there. I already am talking to people, but I'm not mentioning about the referral, and that's one thing I can definitely add in and grow and keep it going. So that's kind of my one takeaway nugget that I will start doing.
Do the guys on the team at the fire station know what you do?
Yeah, they know. So I talked to some, and yeah,
making sure because we got a good group of guys there. Corolla.
Okay.
All right. Lots of things going on here. We're in hurricane mode, but this still energizes me. These calls, and I just have a lot of takeaways. There's just too many to mention.
Very good. Be safe, and I'm sure John's out on the road, so be safe.
Yes, they're all activated again.
Tell me we're asking for them. Sean, final thoughts.
I got to keep stacking. I got some stuff that's really close, and just kind of seeing everybody's activity. Ultimately, just need to keep on rolling. I love being part of this group. It's been a pretty tough couple months, just personally wise, but being here and being with everybody, I love it. So I got a lot today. Got to call the attorney. Things that are happening. So I'm feeling energized.
Good. And plug in, Sean, a couple of you guys that had to be a little bit late. Please remind to plug in the beginning of this call, get it from Shayna, and watch the call. Adam, you popped your video on. Are you okay for final thoughts, or are you tied up?
No, my final thoughts are there's so many things that we get scattered on, and so many issues that come up. If you focus on the person you're talking to at that time, it changes your perspective, because you don't have to worry about what someone else is thinking. Give them the answers to their questions and be direct, and that was huge for me, guys. So thanks.
Cool. Safe travels to you too. I know you're out and about. Pete, final thoughts, my man.
Just overall, success is hard work, and you have to just do it every day. Discipline. Just keep.
So you only needed the video. Bam, you got it in the first 5 minutes. Perfect. Judy, final thoughts.
I'm feeling encouraged and optimistic. I know some of you know that I'm looking at making some potentially major changes. So just all the reinforcement and the support and stuff from this group is truly amazing. So thank you.
Love it. Yep. I'm excited for you, which I know I told you. Sandra, final thoughts.
I need to get off this call because I have a couple pivots I need to make on some people I need to talk to.
I love it. That's like the most aggressive call to action final thought I've ever heard. I love it. Kelly, thanks, Sandra.
I need to create a new habit around, and so I'm going to put a new sentence into my morning kind of set that I have, which is I am going to look for business opportunities in my everyday life and everything I touch, because you just get into these habits. Like when I get into my car, I just drive to where I'm going. Even though we have this conversation, as soon as I get into my car, I'm on autopilot and I'm not looking for those different opportunities. So I need a phrase, a sentence that goes into my morning routine that reminds my reticular activating system that I need to be filtering in those opportunities and looking for them. So that's what I'm going to do, is come up with my sentence and put it into my morning routine.
Good stuff. El Rusty.
Judy, I wore this shirt just for you.
Love it.
And I went to back to school night last night at my old school, and I went to every teacher that I used to teach with, and I said, how many years do you have left? How many years do you have left? Indicating what their prison sentence was. And they told me to get the hell out of here. I had this big smile on my face when I was asking them. So
Rusty, they could all come to the event.
Yeah, I am free, and it's a wonderful feeling just to go back and say, and give them the middle finger.
That was a lot for Rusty. You poured in that one, actually.
Oh.
I wish I could witness that last night. John Clark.
Yeah, I think I just need, I'm dealing with a little bit of discouragement, but these calls are energizing, help me to remember to be faithful in the little, do what I need to do while no one's looking, like the sending the letter, even when it's a not now, even when you plan on calling back. That was a big revelation for me. And then I'm encouraged because yesterday, in the midst of dealing with a leak in the basement, I actually remembered Brian, and I talked to the plumber and the drain guy. So
nice. There's a call in action. John, and anyone, if you're getting out to, it doesn't matter, pick a number, 9 months, 16 months, doesn't matter, and you're frustrated, call Kyle and call Jessica, because they both just got their first deals and they grinded the daylights out of it to get there. And then it becomes easier and easier. You watch what happens to Kyle's business, watch what happens to Jessica's. After that first one, the conversations are different, the mindset's different, the confidence, everything's different. So talk to them and get some of that juice. Morris.
Yeah, throughout my life, I always thought that failing was obviously a negative, and you said it on the video. I realized that failing is just a learning lesson, and just got to keep pushing, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm having some good conversations, so I'm excited.
Thank you, Rusty. You watch surfers in California, I imagine. You see them surf, right?
Yes.
So when they take spills time after time after time, what do?
They get back on the board and they start swimming back out.
Excited.
Yeah.
We just got to ride waves more.
Some of them they fall on purpose just so they can.
So see, you just got to ride waves. Mr. Steve.
Yeah, a couple things. One, I wish I had a cool nickname like Dr. Hoops. We'll have to figure that out at QLS for me, if I could get some help. Other thing is
Dr. Sneakers.
Yeah, Sneaks. We talk about how we work our butt off to be able to get better and mastery. And I had messaged Brian a couple nights ago about his most recent podcast about his son. And outside of the stuff that I said to you, Brian, which I'll keep private. If you don't, you got to watch that, guys. I was crying like a baby for like 20 minutes. So why don't you watch that?
You haven't seen that? I posted in the I posted in the membership channel, I think.
Yeah.
You gotta watch Brian's solo cast, guys. And then you gotta subscribe to his podcast. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I just wanted to say that it was very clear and watch on YouTube. I like to watch instead of listen. So watch on YouTube. It was very clear, Brian, that your commitment to this podcast has made you an incredible storyteller. And that's not easy. That takes time to do. And you can tell what the repetitions have done for your ability to do that. And that goes with anything any of us do, guys. The more you show up for yourself, the better you're going to be, whether it's in your business, as a person, as a parent, whatever it is. So just continue to show up. It'll always work out.
I just got the goosebumps for Brian because you've come so far. So good job, buddy. Jose.
Gut check, practice, and critiques that you said. So that's at the top of my mind. Also dials. So it's always a good takeaway. One real quick item is that I did get a mortgage statement this afternoon on a pre-foreclosure, and it was just identical to what you discussed today at the meeting. I'd like to talk to you about it.
Awesome. But remember I said Chris is leaving. So you're going to talk to Brian and Steve probably.
Okay.
All right. Just so you know, bum out. Why is Chris not answering me? Rick, final thoughts. Maverick.
So mine is I'm working towards building authority is one of my major focuses right now. So I've been monitoring what Brian's been doing between the podcast and social media. So it particularly hit me on standing out when Kelly mentioned using BombBomb. So I'm going to be doing that.
Awesome. Rick, stacking is like your path. So just another item. Boom. Keep stacking it. Nick, final thoughts.
Sure. Never stop taking action towards your dreams. And I'm never going to stop taking action towards my dreams. And I know there's nothing that can stop me because of that. And I encourage everyone else to do that as well, to have that mindset.
Awesome. Brian, you are sandwiched at the top of my screen and you are up. Wrap it up. I think
I'll wrap it up. Well, I had a really good final thought, but then Steve screwed it all up. So love you, brother. I appreciate that. No, but in all seriousness, though, I just want everyone to give yourself credit for being here, right? Acknowledge the fact that you could have done something else and you chose to be here. This is a 5% room. The rest of the world is trying to convince themselves to not be in here. All right. So give yourself credit for that. And 4 more sleeps until Mexico.
You guys, it's been awesome. I can't wait to see you at QLS. As usual, we did twist it up a little bit, some really cool things. Some people will be actually getting an opportunity to go on a chartered boat. We got some really cool things going on. So look forward to seeing you at QLS. Brian, I'm sure I'll be talking to you, but have an awesome trip, my man. Everybody be safe if the storms are hitting you. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
You got it.